Assistant Secretary Camille Alcaraz, Assistant Secretary Idelfonso Patdu, Mr. Manolito Madrasto. What's Lito doing here? Maria Luisa Villanueva, OIC. Miss Villanueva, are you around? Attorney Paul Emerson Pasion, Attorney Lloyd Martinez, Undersecretary Catherine Gonzalez, Attorney Glenn Napoli. Are you related to Napoles? Council Analisa Ite Manito. Before we go further, is there a representative from the Department of Justice here? Would you like to identify yourself, sir? Because I cannot read your...
Yes. Good morning, sir. I am Attorney Neil Simon S. Silva from the Department of Justice.
All right.
Your Honor.
There's a Reynoso here. I can't see the first name. Who is the Reynoso that's mentioned there? Oh, Ruben. He's with the NEDA, no? Engineer Nigel Paul Villarete. Ms. Cosette Canilaw. Mr. Michael Cosikeng of Megawide. Mr. Puvan Siropati. Mr. Andrew Harrison, Mr. Jonathan Gotianum, Ms. Josephine Yap, Mr. Joseph Yap, Oliver Tan, Mr. Nityanand, and Ruben Reynoso, Assistant Director General. I have him present in my list. Is Mr. All right. So, Mr. Silva, are you a member of the MCIAA board?
I am an alternate representative, Your Honor, of the Department of Justice to the
All right.
MCIA board.
Thank you. I have a question for you later. Let's pick up where we left off. I'd like to cover the bidding process, and so I'll direct my first questions to Attorney Pasion. Attorney, you mentioned in the last hearing that the technical working group report was presented to the PBAC.
Yes, Your Honor.
In that meeting, did any member of the PBAC raise questions to test the sufficiency of the report?
Yes, Your Honor, and they also ruled on the recommendations of the technical working group.
All right. Have you submitted the minutes of that meeting of the PBAC?
Your Honor, the minutes is the responsibility of the Secretariat, Your Honor.
Yes. Therefore, I will address this to Secretary Lutilla, Undersecretary Lutilla. Have you submitted the minutes of that meeting?
Your Honor, the minutes were partially submitted to your office, Your Honor, but hindi pa po lahat tapos, Your Honor.
Well, the committee did issue a subpoena. So when can we expect? On that particular meeting wherein the report of the technical working group was submitted to the PBAC, we'd like to know whether any questions were raised as to the sufficiency of the report. Do you recall anything, Yusek Lutilla?
Your Honor, my recollection is that, yes, indeed, Your Honor, there were questions asked with respect to the report, Your Honor.
Yes, but what type of questions? Remember, in the previous hearing, we did question the fact that the PBAC did not do what we expected them to do, or what we expect anybody to do in the pre-qualification process. And I have other issues to take up with the DOTC this morning as far as that is concerned. Now, for example, did the PBAC furnish copies of the Philinvest Consortium, Changi Consortium submission to the GMR Megawide Consortium? Did you ask GMR to comment on what Philinvest Changi submitted to you?
No, Your Honor.
Isn't that normal? You are a lawyer. Isn't that normal when you have a complaint, you ask the other side to comment?
Your Honor, if we are referring, Your Honor, to the pre-qualification results, Your Honor, at that point in time, Your Honor, we were just concerned, Your Honor, with the submissions of the various prospective bidders, Your Honor, to pre-qualify, Your Honor. So there was no opportunity at that point, neither was there any question with respect to qualifications, Your Honor.
Neither were there any questions to qualifications, but Philinvest Changi did come up with some observations, complaints, if you want to call it that, about the GMR Megawide Consortium.
My recollection, Your Honor, and may I just respectfully request that perhaps I can have it refreshed in the minutes, but my recollection is that at that point in time, Your Honor, there were no questions raised regarding
At what point in time are we talking about?
During the presentation of the results of the pre-qualification, Your Honor.
All right, maybe I'll direct this at who in Philinvest can answer this question. Mr. Yap. When did you send them? When did you send the PBAC?
During the post-qualification stage, Your Honor.
More or less, what month?
So, December.
December.
In December. Not during the pre-qualification stage.
So towards the end.
After the...
I remember a date, December 26. What's December 26? That's the submission of...
No. No, Your Honor. November 28 was the submission of the both the financial and technical bids.
Okay. So this was afterwards.
Afterwards, so.
So afterwards, what did you do with the complaint filed by... I'll just refer to it as a complaint filed by the Philinvest Changi Group.
Your Honor, as a policy, Your Honor, the PBAC reviews and considers all points that are raised at any stage of the proceedings, Your Honor. So when at that point when the Philinvest Changi Consortium raised certain points, Your Honor, the PBAC began the process, Your Honor, of looking into those points, Your Honor.
That's it. You looked into it. And after you looked into it, what did you do? You did come up with an analysis. You did come up with a recommendation.
Not yet, Your Honor, because what happened was the PBAC wrote the GMR, Your Honor, to ask them regarding these points that were raised.
So you did write GMR, and GMR responded.
Yes, Your Honor.
So may we have a copy of GMR's response?
Your Honor, may we just respectfully at this point just reiterate the point that we raised before, Your Honor, the so-called deliberative privilege, Your Honor. because the back has not yet reached a conclusion, Your Honor.
No, but this is a fact. They have responded. And earlier you cited the Chavez versus Pea ruling, and so I read it, although I'm not a lawyer. And when it comes to questions of fact, of rules, of criteria, you must respond and you must disclose. We're not asking you how you're dealing with it. Evidently, the process of decision-making should not be diluted by other people coming in and intervening. But you do have certain facts on which you will henceforth base your decision. So we are asking for those facts. So we want the committee is hereby subpoenaing the response of GMR. Anyway, they're on record. They've already answered questions pertaining to this particular issue in the last hearing. You do-
We submit, Your Honor.
All
We
right.
will provide.
Now, has the PBAC finished the financial evaluation of the GMR Megawatt Consortium's bid? Financial.
Yet at this point, Your Honor.
Weren't you supposed to finish by January 4 or something? We're only talking about the financial. We're not talking about the conflict of interest issue.
Your Honor, the point regarding the financial, Your Honor, what happened was there was an initial letter, Your Honor, but there were subsequent letters also that were sent to the PBAC, Your Honor. So that is the reason, Your Honor, that the PBAC has not disregarded any of these things, Your Honor, and we have tried to close out the points that were raised, Your Honor, and that is the reason why the matter has not yet reached its conclusion, Your Honor.
All right. The bidding rules provide for a financial evaluation process, no? What are the criteria? What are the criteria that must be considered in evaluating the financial qualifications of a bidder or prospective bidder? The Chair would like to recognize the presence of Undersecretary Renelim Cauco of the DOTC.
Your Honor, for the bid, it was we were asking for the highest subsidy, the lowest subsidy or highest premium would be the winner, and in determining the financial qualifications of the bidder, if I'll just read from the financial qualification requirements, it was must have a net worth of at least 2 billion or equivalent, based on its latest audited financial statements for the year ending not later than December 31, 2011. Or number 2, a set-aside deposit equivalent to the same amount.
A deposit of 2 billion?
2 billion, Your Honor.
That is supposed to be paid when?
This is for the pre-qualification, Your Honor. So they have to
Oh,
have
so
it.
these are bid bonds.
It is a set-aside deposit, so it would be in a form of a deposit specifically for this project.
No, nobody's going to have 2 billion in cash. That's going to be a waste of money. So what is your definition
Here,
of a set aside deposit?
Well,
I'm not familiar with the term.
it's here. It's a defined term. We're looking for the... it's
No,
a
but do you have the money in other bids? You do have this requirement for other bids that you conduct, don't you?
For this is our...
First time?
For this airport, I'm not sure for
Not
the
this
other.
airport. DOTC has about 23 agencies under it. You've got several PPP several projects. Is this the first time you have used what is known, what you say is called the set-aside deposit?
Let me verify, Your Honor.
Is anybody in this hearing familiar with the set-aside deposit? You were going to pay it, you were going to pay it.
So sorry, Your Honor, it is a provision in the BOT law, so I can safely assume that in all our PPP projects, this is required or stipulated.
So what does it look like?
With the definition.
Is that an IOU? Is that
Getting the definition, Your Honor.
You mean this is your very first time to deal with this? Is this your first PPP project under Secretary Limcao?
This is our second, Your Honor.
Second. In the first project, did you have a set-aside deposit that was required?
Yes, Your Honor.
How was that paid to you?
No one, they all qualified as net worth, under the net worth.
Oh, I see. So this is in lieu of.
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Oh, okay, forget
It's
it.
or.
Yeah. I thought must have both.
Sorry, Your Honor, I did not stipulate the or. My mistake.
What else? What were the other criteria aside from a net worth of 2B? Or?
Then we specified this net worth, Your Honor. So in order to illustrate or to evidence the net worth, we specified that it is a certification of the corporate secretary on the audited financial statements of the corporation, and the corporate secretary must certify that the copy of the audited financial statements is a true copy, and the document must be stamped received by the Bureau of Internal Revenue.
That's it?
Then,
So evidence
And
of net
then-
worth, evidence of taxes paid.
and then to evidence their ability to raise the required debt financing, they have to provide a letter testimonial from a domestic or universal commercial bank or an international bank with a branch in the Philippines or any international bank recognized by the BSP, attesting that the prospective bidder or any member of the consortium are banking with them and that they are in good financial standing and or are qualified to obtain the necessary credit accommodations to finance the project.
That's it?
That's it, Your Honor.
All right, so that's three. One, evidence of net worth, and you're happy with audited financial statements submitted to the SEC. Second, proof of payment of taxes. And third, a comfort letter from the banks.
Yes, Your Honor.
So why will it take you 3 months to decide whether somebody is financially qualified or not?
During the pre-qualification, Your Honor, so we did look at this and we did pre-qualify all the prospective bidders. Then after the bidding, the Philinvest Changi Consortium wrote us a letter during the post-qualification stage, during the financial evaluation stage, raising several issues as to the financial qualifications of mega-wide GMR, Your Honor. So those are the issues that we are now currently looking at.
And those questions with regards to the financial qualifications of GMR are what? In nature, just give me one or two examples.
Overall, Your Honor, that they had, they were overly indebted was one. And what was the second? Well, generally, Your Honor, that they had, they were overly indebted.
Now, what is overly to you? Do you have are you a lawyer, Mr. Limcaoco, or do you come from the banking industry?
I'm a lawyer by education, Your Honor, and
But you're a lawyer by education, but
no buts.
so
Sorry.
you were a practicing lawyer
Okay,
before you joined it.
I was a businessman.
All right. So
I
you're a
did not
businessman. You were just trained in law.
Yes, Your Honor.
And as a businessman, what do you consider a comfortable debt-equity ratio?
It would depend on the business you're in. Some businesses require very low debt to equity. Some businesses require high. For infrastructure projects, we generally know that the infrastructure project them are financed at the debt to equity of 1:4. From a low of 1:3 to a high of 1:5, depending on the
All
type
right.
of project.
All right. Now, do you also take other ratios into consideration?
On a more
The net quick ratio, the current ratio, the long-term ratio. Do you take those
That-
into consideration?
in the PBAC, Your Honor, no, but the banks would. Before lending to a project proponent, they would look not only at the debt to equity, this is my understanding, but also the
So, in other words, what you're saying is the DOTC would leave to the banks the qualification, that particular part of the financial qualification. What you're saying to the committee is that if the banks approve a loan, they must be okay.
that is a indication as to their ability to raise the money required to finish the project, Your
All right.
Honor.
So, what you're saying also is that you don't even have to look closely into that. You leave it up to the banks. Now, don't the banks at the same time take into consideration that because Company X has been awarded the project, therefore there's a certain amount of cash flow that will be produced or generated by the particular project to which it is being awarded, and therefore that they may lock up the returns from that project, regardless of the questionability of the other or of the overall picture of the company. And I'm asking you this because I've got a particular question on another project also under the DOTC.
Yes, Your Honor, the bank would look, my understanding is the banks would look first at, being project finance, they would look first at the project per se and rely on the cash flow generated by the project, and from there determine as to its financial viability.
All right.
That's one of the criteria.
Now let me digress a little bit. Mr. Secretary, this is something that will interest you. Suppose a bidder were under rehab. Would you qualify that bidder if the bank lends to that bidder, if that bidder is awarded for a particular project? Supposing GMR were under rehabilitation. In other words, I don't know how they call it in other legal jurisdictions, but suppose they were almost like in bankruptcy or under Chapter 11 in the United States. Would you award?
No, sir.
All right. There is a bidding for the Puerto Princesa operation and maintenance. There were two bidders. The one who submitted the highest financial bid, Kumho, rehabilitation and has been under rehabilitation in Korea since 2009. Are you awarding Kumho? I can give you the details later after we finish. But since you brought it up, I thought I might ask you a very germane question. You answered no.
Well, Your Honor, just to answer the question on the Puerto Princesa.
Opo, meron ho kayong bidding sa Puerto Princesa Airport,
Yes,
the
yes, Your
operation and maintenance. There were two bidders, Hanjin and Kumho.
Yes, Your Honor.
I understand you're about to award it to Kumho, but Kumho has been under rehabilitation in Korea, or as they call it, tawag dyan, they have a term for it there. Workout. A workout is like a rehab. It protects you from your creditors while you're trying to work out management problems, financial problems, etc. So Kumho has been under a workout since 2009. It has a negative net worth. It doesn't have the net worth that you require to bid for the O&M. Are you familiar with this, Mr. Secretary, the Kumho problem?
Yes, Your Honor. It is now at the post-qual stage, still at the back. I've been informed by the Secretariat that a new letter has been sent by Hanjin raising that
Your Honor, under the BOT law, meet the net worth requirement. For the Puerto Princesa, Your Honor, we are following it is an ODA loan, so we are following the KXIM bidding rules and regulations, sir. So we are now consulting with KXIM as to whether the fact that Kumho is insolvent, whether under KXIM rules, that would lead to their disqualification, Your Honor.
You know, I understand that that's a Korean ODA loan. Am I correct? The Puerto Princesa O&M project. Now, that means that the bidders are limited to Korean companies. So, minus na yan. I've always objected to that sort of arrangement because sometimes you have too high bidders coming in by the simple fact that they are Koreans, so they are the only ones who qualified. And in this particular case, no other company could bid for it because only Korean companies could, and two Korean companies bid for it, Kumho and Hanjin. One is in bankruptcy in their country, and you're asking, by the way, do you allow this under your bidding rules? What do you expect them to say? If they wish to favor Kumho, then they'll say, no, we would allow this under our bidding rules. But under Philippine rules, it doesn't make sense to me that we're allowing a company that's in rehab to undertake a project knowing that he's undergoing extreme difficulty. I mean extreme difficulty, that the danger of the project not being done on time is so much greater. I'm going to read you the report of their Kumho's own auditor, and how many qualifications they placed on the financial report. And everything was based on the premise that the corporation will continue to exist. In other words, there's a chance that they will cease to exist. Then what happens to our project? Can you answer that, Undersecretary Lim Coco?
Yes, Your Honor. We agree that it is indeed a serious issue, but we are just following the protocol that in this bidding for issues such as this, we do have to raise it with KXIM.
So you're saying it's ministerial, you're having to raise it with KXM, but suppose you decide that it's too much of a risk. We can't have a prime tourism airport like Puerto Princesa run into some stumbling blocks down the line. We'll never get it finished or totally rehab or properly operated because the operator to whom we awarded the contract is unable to make timely investments. What happens then?
if indeed, Your Honor, you're correct. If it is, and indeed it is a serious issue, we would raise that issue with KXIM, and I would surmise.
I think you should
forward
make
that
more than raise the issue. You should say tell
na baka hindi
KXIM
pwede to.
we're not going to deal with that. It's too much of a risk. It's not a risk to Korea. It's a risk to our tourism industry.
Yes, Your Honor, we agree.
All right. Now, let me go back to the subject. For example, in the case of GMR, in the last 9 months of 2013, and correct me if I'm wrong, your total debt, despite selling several assets, which we outlined and mentioned in the last hearing, your total debt still increased from 408 billion rupees to 458 billion rupees, or the equivalent of $7.5 billion. And your debt equity ratio jumped from 3.7 to 4.9 times. Now, there were already concerns in India when your banks asked you to unload some of your prime assets in order to come to a more comfortable debt equity ratio. Now, I'm asking the DOTC here the same question. At what point do you consider a bidder having a highly risky debt equity ratio? Over 5? 5.1, 5.5, 6, 7? What would that be?
Here, Your Honor, we did not, in the pre-qualification criteria, we did not specify debt-to-equity ratio as a criteria.
Yeah, but you must remember, you do have discretion. I mean, you can't put everything. We know that. You cannot put everything in the rules. And that's why you also have the option to simply reject any bidder without having to give any reason. Now, using that particular power that you gave yourselves in the rules, at what point do you exercise discretion and you say, we're not going to qualify you? You're beyond what I call, or what we at the DOTC or the Philippine government would term, a safe margin of safety, a margin of safety that we would require of our bidders. If Ms. Canila would like to answer, she's welcome. Pull a mic, please.
In project finance, Your Honor, debt-to-equity ratio could go up to 90-10. But in our concession agreement, our prescribed debt-to-equity ratio is 80-20.
Is what?
80-20. That's in our CA.
That's 4-1.
Yes, that's in our concession agreement. During the life of the concession, they have to
It will
comply.
not exceed
4:1.
a 4-1.
Yes.
Just for that particular project.
For this particular project,
It
the
could be
SPC.
anything outside the project.
For this particular
For
project.
the mother company, for the
Usu-
holding company.
Yeah. Usually, Your Honor, they put up SPCs. In that prescribed debt-to-equity ratio is only for the SPCs for that particular project, sir.
It's only for the, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
For the particular project, like for this one, should it be awarded to anyone, the joint venture between Megawide and GMR or Changi and Philinvest, they would have to abide by the 4:1 debt-to-equity ratio.
The joint venture.
The joint
All
venture, they would form an SPC for this one.
So I'll throw at you the same question I asked Undersecretary Limcauco. Kumho is under rehabilitation. Let's say a bank, a Korean bank, the KCIA, Koika, decides to say, well, I will lend him the money. What happens?
Sir, if that were under the BOT law, they wouldn't be pre-qualified because they won't be able to meet the minimum equity requirements.
So this were
If that project was
under
undertaken
the BOT, but
under
what
the BOT
about,
law.
what other law are we considering? The Government Procurement Act?
There is the Government Procurement Act, and I think there's a special procurement law rules for ODA, sir.
All right. So under the ODA, you would overlook a bidder being under rehab.
I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not familiar with the ODA procurement rules, sir.
Okay. So that's an ODA. The Puerto Princesa is an ODA loan. All right. Now, on the post-qual, has the BAC commenced the post-qualification of GMR Megawide? I guess you answered that in the last... Now, the conflict of interest issue, that's a legal issue, and you're an outstanding lawyer, Attorney Lutilia. Has the government solicited the opinion of the Department of Justice on this matter?
Not at this point, Your Honor.
When will you do it? Next year?
Your Honor, because it's a peculiar situation for procurements, Your Honor, because what I mean to say is that it has a specific process set out in the law. So what we try to do is move along that precise process set out in the law. Then it is only afterwards that it can be elevated, Your
This
Honor.
has been going on for 3 months. I think one of the first things I would have done was also ask the opinion of other agencies of government that are empowered to give opinions on legal issues such as this. Now, if you ask the DOJ now, it's going to take them at least a month to come up with, at least a month to come up with an opinion. Am I correct, Mr. Silva?
That would depend on the nature of the questions propounded, Your Honor. But how we cannot speculate on the time it would take to issue an opinion. However,
Let's speculate. Give me an average time it takes the DOJ to come up with a legal opinion. Average only. I won't hold you to it.
then, Your Honor, purely on a speculative basis, Your Honor, more or less at least 1 month, Your Honor.
Okay. So, you're going to waste another month if you're going to wait for the DOJ to render their opinion.
Your Honor, it's a peculiar situation, Your Honor, because at the same time that we would want to have it resolved, Your Honor, by, for instance, by the Department of Justice, Your Honor, the way the procurement process has been crafted, Your Honor, it has sort of a different approach has been taken, that it rests solely with the implementing agency until it reaches a certain point where it becomes now a matter that will be elevated to the Department of Justice, Your Honor. That is the situation we find ourselves in, Your Honor.
All right, let's follow that trend of thought. You want to come to your decision first, then you're going to ask somebody else for his opinion. That's what you're saying? You're not going to ask that opinion, that somebody to help you formulate the opinion. So suppose you come out with A, and then that fellow comes out with B. What happens? Do you follow him, or do you insist on your own interpretation? You're saying the DOJ is outside the department, but the DOJ is a member of the MCIAA board, isn't he?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why is the DOJ not asked for their inputs on a topic such as this, when it's the MCIA board that is the controlling factor in this? All right. Now let's leave that aside for a while.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. But isn't there an entirely separate provision on collusion in the rules, the bidding rules?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you have two rules dealing with collusion, undue advantage. Because collusion is covered by another rule. And the particular rule, which is called the conflict of interest rule, has to do with undue advantage. In other words, I know the fellow, agent, employee, associate, or director, or official with another bidder. Now, that's why you also included a prohibition on past directorships, hindi ba? I won't argue now about the 1 year forward because you were candid enough. I think Yusek Limcauco or Secretary Baya was candid enough in the last hearing to say, we don't understand that 1 year forward rule yourself. So let's set that aside. I'll point to the 2 years backward. You're also preventing what you call, or what we want to call, undue advantage when you prohibit someone who used to be meaning as far back as 2 years, an employee, an agent, an associate, or a director in a related company related to another bidder, diba? Now, is that the correct interpretation of that particular clause of 2 years?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, in India, the audit report of the Controller and Auditor General of India came up with certain charges, one of which was addressed by the Indian Supreme Court, the others were not. The issue of 27% of the project cost being included in the charge to the traveling public, a levy that is called the Airport Development Fund. But there was also other charges where DIAL, which is the developer of Indira Gandhi International Airport, outsourced contracts that were not arm's length because DIAL had substantial equity interests in those chosen contractors. There was also an issue where the master plan was violated by DIAL, thereby increasing project cost. There were issues that DIAL delayed.
Has to consider all factors that are raised to the attention of the BAC or of the agency itself, Your Honor. So we would, of course, consider official findings or statements, Your Honor.
What other resources, databases does the BAC or does the DOTC consider in coming to their decisions? For example, do you liaise with, say, the agencies of the Philippine government? In this case, you said you won't ask the DOJ for their opinion. The other agencies that you liaise with, of course, the NEDA has to pass on your project. Other than that, may kinakausap pa kayo?
Of course, Your Honor, the PPP Center acts as in an advisory capacity to the BAC, Your Honor. And then, of course, we would also normally consult also the Department of Finance, Your Honor.
What about foreign agencies? Would you talk to, say, the AERA of India, the Airport Authority, to just inquire as to the standing of GMR or GMR's management of Hyderabad and New Delhi international airports?
I believe, Your Honor, that as a matter of prudence, when a matter is brought forward to the attention of the BAC, then we have to
No, have
considered.
you done it? That's what I'm asking.
We have not yet done that, Your Honor.
But you're going to do it.
I believe because the point has been raised, Your Honor, that we should.
Can I work for the DOTC? Because you're waiting for me to suggest. What about Maldives, the Maldives government? What about the Istanbul government, Turkey? I mean, this should be part of what I would normally exercise as due diligence, no? I mean, when we passed on the confirmation of Secretary Junabaya, he did not know that we looked into every nook and cranny of his public and private investigation. A backgrounder was conducted on his person, including interview of his neighbors and his business associates, or his associates in government, or his constituents in Cavite. So this is something that we expect the DOTC to do, and if you don't have that capability now, we're going to put in the committee report that you must develop that capability. Otherwise, you're at the mercy of, well, I got this from the SEC. Well, I'll tell you, 99% of the reports of the SEC are wrong, are inaccurate. They're not wrong, but they're inaccurate. They're doctored. I'm very familiar with accounting practices by business. And it might not even be illegal because accountants have different ways of interpreting certain entries into their books. All right, now,
Your Honor, can I,
yes,
sir?
no, please. Let me finish first with, I will come to GMR. You'll have an opportunity,
I just
sir.
wanted to respond on the whatever submission we have made as far as a letter from the Government of India, which has gone on record.
Excuse me, I've not given you the floor. Will you wait? I will be coming to GMR
Okay, sir.
later. Now, on the pre-qualification of Malaysia Airports Holdings, Berhad, were the bidders informed, were the other bidders informed that they had come into the picture? I understand they were a very late entry. And the first that the newspapers, the first time the newspaper reported they're having submitted a bid on November 28 was on December 2, which was a surprise because we thought First Holdings was partnering with the New Zealand group. So when did the other bidders, when were the other bidders informed that Malaysia had become a bidder in the first Philippine consortium?
I understand, Your Honor, that from the records, Your Honor, the information was made known only on the bid submission date, Your Honor.
All right. And so therefore, nobody could have really done a deep background check on Malaysia Airport Berhad and even make a connect with GMR because nobody knew that they were bidding.
At that point, yes, Your Honor.
But the PBAC exercises quasi-judicial functions in determining which all the bidders and even the public concerned the reason why your decision is made this way or that way. You
Anchored on a specific
line. This is the most advantageous. But then you've got to give your reasons why you consider it as such, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Now, let's go to GMR so that they'll have a chance to explain. You wanted to react to a certain point we raised earlier. You're Mr. Kapoor?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes, please.
Sir, I think there have been 2-3 points which were raised. One was about the financials, and just to react to that point, as far as GMR is concerned, as I had mentioned in my last hearing also, the group is absolutely financially sound. It is rated BBB investment grade by the rating agencies. It has not defaulted to any lender. It has got letters of good standing from Asian Development Bank and Standard Chartered Bank, which have been submitted at the time of our submission. That was primarily about the GMR group. And in fact, last time I had also made a very detailed submission about its financials, its operating profits, and its cash profits. And the group is very much profitable. It has the ability to meet the finances required to complete this project. Having said that, the prime criteria of financial capability was that of Megawide, because they were the 60% partner as far as this project is concerned.
How many percent?
60%. They are the 60% partner, we are a 40% partner. That is in compliance with the regulations which require a foreign investor cannot take more than 40% equity. And the financial capability of Megawide was used for the purpose of this bid. So the financial capability of GMR was not used. Not relevant as far as this bid is concerned. However, having said
In
that,
other words, what you're saying is that if GMR is under rehabilitation in India, it wouldn't matter.
GMR is not in rehabilitation.
No. If. I use the word if. It's a hypothetical question. If GMR were under rehab in India, it wouldn't matter.
As far as GMR is concerned,
No, as far as if you were in the position of the Philippine government.
I would request that this can be used as a generic question rather than a very specific question about GMR, because GMR is not in rehabilitation.
I'm not
If
saying,
any bidder,
okay, if the partner of Megawide, it's not GMR, or the partner of Philinvest, if Chang
as I am concerned, as GMR is concerned, if there is an award toward or somebody else has quoted higher as far as any bid is concerned, we would not be sore losers and say that this is a complaint,
it's
that
got
is a
nothing
complaint.
to do with the sore loser. I'm talking from the point of view of the Philippine government. Should I allow a bidder who's under rehabilitation, should I qualify him under the financial
If
pre-qualification rules?
Sir, I think it is not for me to respond to that. It is for the government to respond to that. Of course, they would need to evaluate that is this going to materially
So you're
impact.
avoiding answering my question. I said, if you were in my position, would you qualify somebody who's in bankruptcy?
If that bankruptcy is going to affect the ability of that person. Bankruptcy is a separate matter. Rehabilitation is a stage before
When you're in
bankruptcy.
bankruptcy, there's a 50-50 chance that you will continue being bankrupt or you might recover, which is why even the report of the external auditor of Kumho qualified their audit by saying this financial statement was prepared on the premise that the corporation will continue of liquidation for the foreseeable future. In other words, if you take the other side of the statement, he's saying, well, there's a chance that these guys are going to go belly up. In any case, since you don't wish to answer that, I have another question for you. Your net losses increased, surged to 10.7 billion rupees during the 9-month period ending December 31st, 1913. Is that correct?
Just give me a moment. Our GMR's consolidated net loss for the 9-month period ending December of 2014 was about 4 billion Indian rupees.
That's your net loss.
Net loss. This is the net loss.
Okay. And your EBITDA increased to 18 billion.
Yeah, our
Rupees?
EBITDA was about 7 billion profit. It was a positive of 7 billion Indian rupees.
You had, no, I'm giving you more. I'm giving you 18 billion in EBITDA. That's earnings before income tax, depreciation, and amortization.
Okay. That is 17 billion. 9 months is 17. Is
17
about 18.8 billion.
18.8 billion. And your interest expenses jumped to 20.5 billion in that
That's
same
right.
period.
That's right.
So therefore, you don't even generate enough cash, operating profit, to cover your interest expense. It's just a simple question. 20 billion is more than 18 billion, right?
Sir, Your Honor, I think one has to understand this is a consolidated balance sheet. And
I'm just asking. I know it's a consolidated balance sheet. I know it's a mother company.
so, I think what is really relevant is that does GMR has the ability to implement this project? What is its credit rating? Because, you know, everybody has their own discretion to analyze what the profitability is and come to their own subjective judgment. But the subjective judgment has to be based upon a credible third party. And the credible third party in this case are the rating agencies who continuously rate any listed entity and keep on giving that information in public domain for the purpose of consumption of people who are going to deal with that entity. And the rating of GMR is something which is the most important and should be relied upon. Because if any point of time GMR is potentially in financial distress, it will impact the rating. And automatically the rating agencies are going to come back and change the rating. And that has not happened. The rating agencies have maintained consistently the investment grade rating of GMR Group. And I would just like to reiterate that the GMR Group is not in financial distress. It is robust. It has got the ability to meet its long-term debt as well as the short-term debt.
By borrowing some more.
I think, sir, that is
No, I'm not saying you're going belly up. What I'm saying is that there are always warnings that those of us who understand how to read financial statements can always come to preliminary conclusions. We do ratios, we do analysis, and right here, this is very clear that you're spending more in interest than what you're earning. So if things were to stand still today, you wouldn't be able to pay 2 billion in interest, 2 billion rupees in interest.
No, if you actually-
that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying you're not going to pay it, because you can always borrow some more tomorrow. But this is a situation that's been obtaining for some time. This is not just 2013. This happened in 2012. This happened in 2011. That's why you've had operating losses for 3 years running.
Sir, the EBITDA is before other income also. So if you actually see the financial statements, there is another income also which is below the line after EBITDA. And that is also used to meet the interest
I understand.
payment
yeah.
liabilities.
I understand what's below the line. Thank you for that. Anyway,
And sir, I think can I also respond on the CAG report which you raised?
on the
The report of the Comptroller and Auditor General, the Indian Government Auditor.
I think you responded to that already in the previous hearing, and we're
No,
quite
sir,
familiar
we have not
with your.
We did not respond.
You
It
did
was
not?
not an issue raised last time.
All right, please respond to it.
Sir, let me explain the process of.
The whole point I'm trying to make is that there's always a response to any charge that's made. I mean, there's two sides to the question. There's the prosecutor and there's the defense. And you can always come up with the defense. And it will always sound very rational and very logical. But what I'm questioning is that why the DOTC did not exercise the due diligence to pick up the Controller and Auditor General's report with regards to the performance of GMR. That's all I'm saying. Whether it's valid or not, whether you will dispute it or not, we expected you to dispute that. We expected you to have answers, and we have read your answers. But what I'm saying is, why didn't you know about it? Why didn't you take the effort to do a more in-depth due diligence on whoever bidders came before you in order to protect the interests of the Filipino people? That's what I'm saying.
Sir, in
So
fact,
whether you can answer it or not is really beside the point. It's why did they not pick it up?
in fact, sir, just to
And you can
highlight-
answer that. You can answer me why the OTC didn't pick it up.
No, sir. I
So I think you'll have to hold your comments first, Mr. Kapoor, because we know what you're going to say, and we're not saying that they're not valid answers. My concern is why didn't they pick it up?
So can I respond to that? Because
I
it is
don't
rel-
think you can answer that question, why they didn't pick it up. That's the DOTC's.
No, sir. I just
question.
wanted to say something which is relevant for that purpose. We had submitted a letter which is dated 19th December from the Government of India, Ministry of Civil Aviation, to the DOTC and PBAC, which actually states that DIAL has been operating the airport from 3rd of May 2006 satisfactorily as per the provisions of the OMDA executed between DIAL and Airport Authority. Further, we have also been operating the Hyderabad airport, and this airport also has been operating satisfactorily.
Yes, that's a good side. Did you disclose it? Did you disclose the CAG findings to DOTC?
Sir, this was a letter of good standing from the Government of India.
No.
And
Did you
it
disclose
covers-
that we were charged by the Comptroller and Auditor General of India with this, and this is our response? Did you disclose that you were
Sir, let
charged?
me make a correction here, sir.
No,
if I may request.
Just answer the question, yes or no. Did you
we were
disclose
not
it?
charged. Sir, we were not charged by the CAG.
Did you disclose the existence of the CAG report?
Sir, we were not required to disclose.
You're not required.
Firstly,
right.
the charge is not on us.
Just a second, please. I have here your submissions. And when you say you're not required, meaning they did not specifically ask you.
Yes, they did not
For it.
specifically
All
ask
right.
us.
Now, the DOTC is here listening. You see how easy it is to avoid instances like these? Kasi ang sagot lang nila I'll say in Tagalog, hindi naman tinanong eh. Ni-rape mo ba yung babae? Ay, hindi mo tinanong sa akin. Now that you ask me, I raped her 3 times, but in the meantime, it's your fault. You didn't ask me. That's what we're trying to avoid. And of course, Ms. Canilao, you said that you informally asked the ACI, Airports Councils Incorporated.
Not only that, Your Honor, but in the ITPB, there is a provision there where
Ms. Canilao, could you bring the microphone closer
Sorry.
to you? Because
not only that, Your Honor, but also in the ITPB,
what's the IC?
the instructions to prospective bidders, and
Okay.
we ask the entity which fulfills all requirements to cert. If the entity is proposed to meet the financial qualification requirement, we had to check
What page would you be on?
page 16, sir, of 71.
Page 16.
Yes.
Paragraph.
C, the last one.
I'll read it. Each entity which is proposed to meet the financial qualification requirement. Is that the one?
Yes, sir.
must also submit a certificate of absence of unsatisfactory performance record,
Yes.
but only in relation to the last of the definition of unsatisfactory performance. Now, what are the last two paragraphs? Inclusion in a blacklist
Yes, sir.
and involvement in any corrupt, fraudulent, coercive, undesirable, or restrictive practice, or having conflicts of interest.
Yes, sir. So we had to check the World Bank website for any for their blacklist to ensure that all bidders are filtered, sir. That they're not part of that blacklist.
All right. So you check it at a more general level, a higher level. You don't go down below that. Wala naman sa blacklist ng World Bank, so okay naman sila. Ganun yan.
That's one of the safety mechanisms that we have in place, sir.
Yes. And no involvement, let me see. Proposed to meet financial involvement in any corrupt, fraudulent, coercive, undesirable, or restrictive practice, or having conflicts of interest. Now, where would you get that? You would just have to rely on their certificate. But wouldn't that be a big red flag to you? Certified. Where in your rules? Is Fraport part of a blacklist? No.
Under the outstanding dispute provision, sir. Let me just go to it.
Where is the outstanding dispute provision? You only gave me 2 disqualification requirements under the financial qualification requirement. Inclusion in a blacklist by any government agency. I see, a blacklist any government agency of the Philippines. All right. Is Fraport on the blacklist? Can you show me a blacklist of the Philippine government? I didn't know we had a formal document called a blacklist. Mr. Madrasto, do we have a blacklist? Because
We
I
have a
see
blacklist, Mr. Chairman, regarding contractors right now.
Contractors.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm talking about the blacklist, say, for prospective bidders for airport O&M or airport development.
There is an issuance, I just don't recall the number, but there was an issuance wherein if a company has any pending or an existing litigation with any government entity, automatically that company cannot participate.
Existing litigation.
Yes. In fact, we're even contesting that, the PCA, because it's so wide-ranging, because it even considers if the company has a protest or a complaint against government, in essence, it is also barred from participating. And we feel that is too wide.
Yeah. And how has government responded to that? So, Ms. Canilaw, can you show me a blacklist? Can you point out a blacklist to me?
Sir, aside from the blacklist, which I cannot show you right now, we also issued a special bid bulletin to all bidders, which is an amendment to the instructions to prospective bidders. We inserted a new paragraph with respect to outstanding dispute. We said there that for purposes of outstanding disputes with government refers to any pending judicial, administrative, or alternative dispute resolution proceeding. We will give you, sir, a copy of the special bid bulletin.
Okay, but that's an outstanding dispute. Suppose the dispute has been resolved.
if they're taken, then if they're not a part of the blacklist of any
What blacklist? I'm asking you. Is
the
there such a...
international financial institution,
I'm talking about the Philippine government blacklist. I want to see that blacklist.
the contractors, sir. We refer to that contractors blacklist, sir.
Contractors blacklist.
Yeah,
So
the
that's
one that,
done,
Mr. Madrasto.
undertaken by the DPWH
Yes, sir.
or the PCA,
Yes, sir. PCA.
CIAP
And it's,
Construction,
it's
and
the Construction Industry Authority of the Philippines,
Okay.
as well as with the Government Procurement Policy Board,
All right.
GPP.
now, for example, is Piatco in that blacklist? On what blacklist does Piatco appear?
If Piatco is not in that blacklist, sir, because of this outstanding dispute provision, they will not qualify as part of the bidder.
Okay. Now, suppose that dispute were settled already. Would Piatco be qualified?
Under the bidding rules, sir, if they are not in the blacklist and they don't have any outstanding disputes and they pass all the legal, financial, and technical requirements, then yes, they
Pwede
would
uli. Okay.
under the bid rules, sir.
Mr. Secretary, I think that we should be very careful about...
Excuse me, I correct myself. We asked them also to submit an certificate of unsatisfactory performance if there is a record.
Piatco, in Piatco's mind, they have never had unsatisfactory performance. They have disputed every point that the government has brought forward. So if you're asking them to judge themselves, they're angels. Or they're candidates for sainthood.
Sir, under the unsatisfactory performance definition, we included their failure to satisfactorily perform any of its material obligations on any contract, as evidenced by imposition of a judicial pronouncement or arbitration award, expulsion from any project or contract, termination or suspension of any of its projects.
So you're
or
talking
contracts.
about final conviction.
Yes, sir. If
You're not talking about ongoing disputes.
ongoing disputes. So if Piatco, for example, sir, the Piatco will not qualify. First of all, because of
In the Philippines.
because of the
Now
outstanding
suppose these were the
dispute.
Piatco of Malaysia. Similar situation, similar controversy, similar accusations. Would a Piatco in Malaysia qualified for bidding in the Philippines? See, that's what I'm trying to determine. Eh dito, mabaho na sila sa amin. Okay. Pero mabaho sila sa Malaysia, okay lang sa amin. Ganun sinasabi.
We're going to check, sir, because this unsatisfactory performance also referred to affiliates.
Mr. Secretary, that's what I'm trying to also point out. We've got to cover our bases. We can't wake up and then say, "Oops, we made a mistake there." Now, admittedly, no small group of people can think of everything, but maybe the government, which is what I'm suggesting to the palace, get some thinkers involved in the management process. They don't have to be line people, but they just have to vet. For example, if you get Lito Madrasto here, he'll tell you all of the loopholes that he's used all these years so that he will not be and this will help. This will really help us. The chair would like to recognize the presence of Senator Grace Poe. You have questions? All right. So okay, let's go on to another topic. Let me ask GMR. GMR, did you disclose your problems? I'll call it problems, okay, with the Maldives government?
Yes, sir.
You did?
Yeah.
May we know where? I went through your submissions and I'm not sure if it's included here.
Your Honor, it's not part of the main, but at the very end of our submission, we have made a submission on the subject as
It's
additional
not in the
information.
main.
No, as additional information, we have presented this.
Where is
submission.
the additional information?
It's on the last page of our submission.
Would you like to help my assistant? Ms. Canilao, you also said that GMR disclosed to you their problems in the Maldives. This you said during the last hearing.
It was submitted, sir, to the. It was part of their submission for pre-qualification, the disclosure on the Maldives, and during the post-qual when these issues arose, there was a letter from the IFC was submitted to the DOTC, and the IFC was then the transaction advisors for the government of Maldives, and they stated in that letter that the contract should have been upheld by the government of Maldives, and that the bidding was done in a very transparent manner. That was based on the letter submitted by IFC to the DOTC, sir.
That's right. Of course, they'll never say that they were wrong. It's the Maldives government that's wrong, and that's understandable. What I'm asking is, what did the DOTC do? Did you dig up the records in Maldives?
I believe when this issue was raised by Philinvest, the OTC asked GMR to explain further that Maldives.
No, my question is, did you contact the Maldives government and ask for their side on the issue? Just say yes or no.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, let me ask GMR, what other airports did you partner with Malaysia Airport Holdings Berhad?
Altogether, there are 4 airports, sir. One is Delhi, other one is Hyderabad, and other one is Istanbul. The last one was actually.
Well, what was the third one?
Istanbul Sabiha Cochin
Istanbul,
Airport.
that's
Yeah.
Koken?
Sabiha Cochin Airport.
Okay. How do you pronounce that? I'm not too sure. Cochin?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Cochin Airport. All right. Now, they were your strategic partners in all 4. You've sold out you've sold out your interest in Istanbul, in Cochin.
Yeah.
Has Malaysia sold out there?
No.
They were part of your
the transaction
consortium.
We are selling out to Malaysia.
Also, Malaysia now owns your
Process is still on.
your equity position in Cochin.
Can I just
Yes,
add
please.
here that Malaysian airports are our financial partners in respect of various airports which Shripati has just mentioned, and in respect of the Sabiha Cochin Airport, they were holding 20%, we were holding 40%, and 40% was being held by a local construction entity in Istanbul. We are selling our 40% to Malaysian airports, and we are exiting Sabiha Cochin Airport and selling our equity to Malaysian airports.
So Malaysia is now the operator of Cochin. I understand Fraport is a partner also in Cochin, but they unloaded.
No, Fraport is not a partner.
Not in Cochin?
They never held any equity in Sabiha Cochin Airport.
They never had?
Any equity in Sabiha Cochin Airport.
Okay. But they have equity in New Delhi.
They have 10% equity in New Delhi Airport.
And they were the operating partner.
They are actually the operation responsibility as per the concession agreement is that of Delhi Airport, which is the joint venture entity. The technically the operator is Fraport, because at the time when the bidding was done for Delhi Airport, there was no entity in India who were qualified to meet the criteria of operation. So the government had asked certain criteria of qualification, and in respect of that qualification, various consortiums were formed. And as far as our consortium was concerned, we had Malaysian Airport as 10% partner, Fraport as a 10% partner, and we held 54% equity.
Okay.
The operator as per the original bid was Fraport. Now they initially deputed various people also for about 3 years for assisting in handover and also transfer of knowledge, and for the last almost 5 years there has not been anybody from Fraport who is working in Delhi Airport, and Delhi Airport, which is DIAL, which is the joint venture entity, has been operating and maintaining the airport on its own, and it is an affiliate of GMR Group. And as far as our qualification for this particular bid is concerned, we had submitted both airports, both Hyderabad and Delhi Airport, because both met the criteria of 5 million passengers individually, and we have submitted both. And in respect of Delhi Airport, of course, Fraport is a 10% partner, but in the Hyderabad Airport, they are not a partner at all.
In Hyderabad Airport, they're not partners
No.
at all. All right. Have they unloaded already their share in Delhi?
No, sir.
They're still there.
No, they are still there.
Okay. What about Malaysia Airport? They're your partners in all 4 airports.
Yes.
They have taken over your equity position in Cochin.
In Sabia Cochin.
In Hyderabad, Malaysia has 10%,
Yes.
and
11%.
in
11.
Delhi
11% and in Delhi
11%.
10%.
10. All right. So they're your strategic partner in all these 4
Well,
projects.
one would not call them strategic partners. They have invested equity and they do not have any particular role, mandated role in all these entities.
But obviously, they know how to manage airports because they bought out your equity in Istanbul. And it was your joint venture that was supposed to operate the Istanbul airport. Am I correct? O&M, operate and manage and maintain.
The operation and maintenance is the responsibility of the joint venture entity, which is, in the case of...
Now that you're not there, Malaysia's well equipped and qualified.
It will be still the responsibility of the joint venture entity, but the shareholding will change. So Malaysians will become a majority partner.
So you mean to say you're still operating the Istanbul airport?
No, sir. Istanbul Airport, we are not operating. We are a 40% partner. But as far as Delhi...
Who operates the Istanbul airport?
The operation of Istanbul Airport is done by the particular entity itself, which is the Sabiha Gökçen Istanbul Airport Company.
All right. So you have your own management team
The
there.
entire management team
Yes.
is there.
Now you're not there any longer.
We are in the process of exiting. The
Yes.
formal closure has
As
not
you
yet been
exit,
completed.
it would be Malaysia now that will manage Istanbul airport.
Both Malaysians as well as Limak, which is the local partner, they will manage it.
Oh, even the local partner is involved in management, even if they have no experience in management.
Sir, as I said that it is the particular joint venture company which has shareholders who have
I
experience.
understand what a joint venture is. Almost all corporations are joint venture in the sense that you are describing joint venture. They all contribute equity, whether it's $1 or $1 billion. But that doesn't mean that they have any direct personal participation in managing the affairs of the company. The company is managed by a team that is hired by the board of directors.
Yes.
Now, normally there's a lead company who has the expertise, which is why you got Fraport. You might say that you're co-managing it with Fraport, but Fraport technically is the reason why you qualified to operate Delhi and Hyderabad. Am I correct?
No, sir. In Hyderabad, Fraport was not involved.
So how did you qualify in Hyderabad
In
and
the-
not qualify for Delhi if you had not had Fraport in Delhi? Is that a different jurisdiction?
In the case of Hyderabad Airport, GMR at that point of time when the bidding was done, almost 8 to 10 years back, did not have the necessary experience to qualify for the bidding for Hyderabad Airport. So we had qualified on the basis of Malaysian airports.
So Malaysian Airport was then your strategic or technical partner in Hyderabad, and Fraport was your strategic partner for Delhi.
There is a slight distinction between two airports. In the case of Delhi Airport, there is a technical operator on record, which is Fraport. But in the case of Hyderabad Airport, there is no technical operator. It is GMR Group which is owning majority, which contributes to the operation and maintenance of Hyderabad Airport. So there is no technical operator on record as far as Hyderabad is concerned.
Yeah. At what point did you learn that Malaysia Airport was also bidding with another group for the contract in Mactan Cebu International Airport?
Your Honor, we found out on the day of the bid submission.
On the day.
Yes.
And did you think that, oops, there might be a conflict of interest here?
Frankly, Your Honor, no, because we had complied with all provisions as well as special bid bulletins that were released as part of the instruction to bidders.
Well, I know you complied to the best of your ability without knowing that Malaysia was also going to bid, to submit a bid in partnership with another Philippine group. When that happened, when you discovered that Malaysia had indeed submitted a bid, did you think that you would be running into a conflict of interest issue?
No, Your Honor.
You never discussed it among yourselves?
No. Yes, we never discussed it, but more importantly, we didn't see any conflict of interest.
Okay, so you did discuss it?
No, as I said, no, we did not. No, we did not.
Okay. All right, let me address some questions to Ms. Canilao.
Your Honor.
Ms. Canilao, when did you meet with the ACI people? You said in the last hearing that you did talk to them.
Yes, sir. I made a presentation to ACI Asia sometime in middle of 2012. I just can't remember when. I made a
Okay.
presentation to the Philippine PPP program.
And you did say that, or you did imply anyway, maybe I got it wrong, that you cleared GMR or some of the bidders.
Not cleared, but I had a discussion with the president of ACI, and we discussed all the airport operators in the region which might be interested in bidding for the Philippine PPP on airports, sir.
Mm-hmm. And
in the discussions, the problem with the GMRs, I think that was already known to all airport operators on the Maldives, and then Vinci's, the operator of Siem Reap, sir. We also had some discussions on their capabilities. That's with the president. It was an informal exchange of knowledge and ideas, sir.
And this is what you call clearing.
That, sir, call it clearing.
What do you call that?
It's an exchange of knowledge among PPP practitioners in different sectors. We do that, sir, for rails. We also do that for roads. So since the PPP center is in charge of is also into promoting PPP, the program, to other countries, other investors, most of the operators would come to me and discuss possibilities in investing in the Philippines.
All right. So aside from your meeting with them in mid-2012, mid-2013, I'm sorry, 2012.
2012 or 2011, I'm not pretty sure. I'll check my records.
All right. You never had recourse to them again when the actual list of bidders were submitted for the Mactan Airport?
None, sir.
All right.
Your Honor, may I be allowed?
Yes.
May I be allowed?
Mr. Tan?
Yes.
Yes, please.
May I be allowed to comment?
What would you like to
say? On two issues, on the conflict of interest as well as on the financial qualification?
Please make it quick, because I'm not directing a question at you, and why would you comment?
Yes. Your Honor, on the conflict of interest.
You are a lawyer?
No, Your Honor. I'm the CFO of Megawide.
Why would you be qualified to comment on the conflict of interest?
In terms of a direct involvement personally with the, let me explain, Your Honor, if you would allow me. We learned about the participation of Malaysian Airport on the day of the bid submission. It never crossed our mind on the conflict of interest, mainly because Malaysia Airport or Mr. Tantri was never involved during the entire bidding process. And even me, Michael, Edgar, I mean the local partner, we haven't met Tantri personally. We haven't talked to him. In fact, if he would come in here in this hall, we would even recognize him. He was never involved in the entire bidding process. So it never crossed our mind of the conflict of interest. Second, our consortium submitted, I mean in the practical sense, our consortium submitted the best offer, and Malaysian Airport together with First Philippines submitted the worst offer. So it really never crossed our mind. We never talked to this person or...
I see what you mean, yeah.
Yes. On the last point on the financial qualification, Your Honor, if you may allow us, just allow me to comment. Notwithstanding the financial strength of GMR, Megawide as the major shareholder of this consortium, which we own 60%, our net worth actually, as of Q3 of 2013, was 4 times more than the required net worth stipulated in the ITB. That's one point. Second point, our NFCC, or the net financial contracting capacity, which is a financial indicator of a contractor's ability to take a contract, is actually 4 times of the project cost, inclusive of the bid premium. Third point is that the bid rules allow, as Ms. Cosette said it a while ago, the bid rules allowed 80-20 debt equity ratio for this particular project financing. We are, Your Honor, in fact, sticking with 70-30. And we would like to mention that GMR, as owns 40% of the consortium, are injecting cash equity into the SPV to the 40% proportion. And we also like to stipulate that normal project financing structure, actually, banks and lenders would really base it on the cash flow strength of the particular project, more so than the leverage ratio. Having touched on the leverage ratio, even if Megawide being the major shareholder of the consortium, even if we consolidate it, our leverage ratio would only be at 3.5 times, which in our management view is of decent DE ratio, being an infrastructure company that will basically run the airport. But nonetheless, we are actually towards the end of the year or early next year, we are contemplating on raising equity in the market, therefore bringing down the debt equity ratio of 3.5 to less than 2 times.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tan.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, can anybody here answer this? What will you be charging? What are the various fees that will be included in the contract that you will be able to charge the public? And are all these fees regulated? You know, that was a very big issue when I investigated the Piatco. Why don't I give you time to list it down so that you can read it into the record?
Give us just a few minutes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you.
And will you allow them special airport development fees to be charged to the... Ms. Canilao, you're shaking your head, so say it into the mic.
As far as I can recall, in the concession agreement, there's no airport development charge, sir.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I would like to yield the floor to Senator Grace Poe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, Secretary Abaya and Governor Davide. Thank you for being here. I just have a question for the Governor. Governor, this is really important, I suppose, for your constituents, because although numbers and figures are very important, in the end, our airport should be about services, should be how it will aid progress, and how it can be a sense of pride, especially for the Cebuanos. So I'd like to know, have you been consulted at any point regarding this project? And if you have any feedback regarding what your constituents feel, your Chamber of Commerce, your food industry, and all other big business industries in Cebu?
Thank you, Senator Poe. Yes, the sense in Cebu, the Cebuanos actually believe that this project is very, very important. It's in fact, it's long overdue, and we expect tourist arrivals to increase. So the expansion project is it's a very welcome in Cebu, especially for the Cebuanos and in general the Filipinos. And my only concern really is the issues right now involving the bidders, and of course my interest is for these issues to be resolved soon. And the Cebuano business community is also concerned about the issues being raised.
Is there a
yes.
particular concern about the bidding, or are there other matters regarding perhaps design or the qualification of bidders? Is there a particular concern, sir?
The particular concern actually is, most of the businessmen I've talked to or who have consulted with me, their sentiment is if there's already a winning bidder, why not award it to the winning bidder? There are also certain sectors there who are concerned about the issues raised by Philinvest and Changi Consortium. They are concerned, and as I've stated earlier, Senator, we like this project. We are eager that this project pushes through because Cebu needs it, especially since we are expecting the APEC summit. Well, some meetings of the ministers' meetings and finance ministers' meetings, we are told, will be held in Cebu in 2015. And there's also this 2016 International Eucharistic Congress, which will be also held in Cebu. And we are.
So, if I understand you correctly, Governor, what you want is to have this project underway already.
Yes.
And
yes,
you are
Senator.
amenable so far with what's being presented to us.
Yes, Senator. Yes, and I'm in fact I'm very, very glad to be present here. At least I can hear the side of GMR and Philinvest as well as the OTC.
Okay, thank you for your insight and also for the representation for your constituents.
Thank you,
Secretary Abaya, just a few things. I am not an expert in terms of the bidding requirements and the technicalities. In fact, I have yet to receive from your office a copy of the original rules of the bid, just to enlighten myself also if, let's say, there was really a changing of the rules in the middle of the game. However, as the governor pointed out, they're also eager to have this started. Now, just feedback from the ground. Meaning people that I've talked to who are also from Cebu, and as you know, Cebu the Cebuanos take pride in their design and creative talents. We have Kenneth Cobonpue from there, just an example. They may be very efficient. I'm not saying that they are or they're not, but when it comes to the design itself, there's some that are criticizing just the physical appearance or the design of the airport. My question is there still a possibility, perhaps if this project starts, that within the amount that they propose, that certain changes will be made to the aesthetics or the structural design of the building, or are we tied down to the design that they submitted to us? Are they also open to working with local architects or design experts who are, let's say, from Cebu, who will not alter the amount that they entered into in terms of the agreement? Sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. The renderings that we have seen, basically the conceptual design, was required by the Bids and Awards Committee to test and make sure that there is a Filipino taste or color or tinge that will be incorporated. That was a very specific requirement of the BAC. In fact, a 100 million peso fund has been required to ensure that that requirement of the BAC is complied with. As to the final detailed engineering, that will be subject to DOTC's approval. So at any point in time, DOTC can intervene, can require Cebu designers and whoever Filipino artists who would want to participate and incorporate their ideas in the final design. Yet, at the end of the day, it is subject to government approval, Your Honor.
Sir, may I ask also if your company is amenable or open to this?
Absolutely, Senator Poe. Thank you very much for asking this question. I would like to answer three things here. One is about the design development. What we submitted is what I call a concept that is starting from what we saw in the intention that in the bidding documents. That is certainly not the end point. That's only a starting point. As we are talking, we are improving as we say. Our designers are working on it. Today, I am pleased to show something even better than what we showed last time, because Senator Osmeña himself commented on some pictures and said, oh, that looks better. We are taking that on board and improving it further. This is all at our cost. We are not talking about the budget that has been allowed extra, 4 extra comments that will be coming from the PBAC or DOTC. So already we are going halfway through. I will just allow it to circulate if you don't mind. On top of it, we will be making submissions. As we submit, there will be comments and we will be incorporating. Senator, you just touched on that architect
Cobanpue.
Of course, he is world-renowned. We have also touched base with people like him for the interiors, how to bring in that extra touch and the Cebu touch and Cebu pride into that. Maybe my colleague Louis can just tell us a little bit about what he has done with that.
Sir,
Local
I'm sorry, I can't
yeah.
see your nameplate. Can I see what your
Louis
role
Feller.
is? What is your role?
I'm
in
the
this?
Chief Marketing Officer of Megawide. I'm part of the bidding group, and we've spoken with local architects and designers. Actually, we spoke with Mr. Kenneth Cobanpue already, and he mentioned that he's interested to participate in the design team.
Feel a sense of ownership. Actual group of designers. We have Palafox also, who is a renowned for many, many decades. And one thing's for sure, with the past airports that we've had, and a woman perhaps is more concerned about this, you have like 4 stalls in the bathroom. What's that? I mean, when you go to other airports, you have at least 10, 20 stalls. And I hope that this is part of your design. These are very probably pedestrian concerns, but this is, at the end, this is what's going to give a better impression to the public that we're trying to serve. So my concern is, number one, the time in motion of the services that you can provide with the measurement of, let's say, from one stall to another. I mean, all these things so that traffic flow can be ensured. How are we, what type of, I'm sorry, I'm going into detail, maybe because this is more of a woman's concern, but are you going to put some tile that in 10 years it will crack, or are you going to invest in stone that can be polished again and again? These will make a difference. That's why when you go to China, for example, or in many other airports, they use natural stone, perhaps because I hope that you will take the step further into inviting other stakeholders so that your design can really be something you can be proud of. You are in the PR business and in marketing, and I think this will make a big difference. The type of people that will be a part of your design and who have the street credentials to the public when it comes to aesthetics and promoting indigenous materials. So I guess that's one. And then the next thing is I still need a copy of the rules, sir. I mean, not to model anything else, but I just want to see your justification behind saying that there wasn't really any conflict of interest because there was minutes of the meeting that already changed it or defined what conflict of interest meant in this case.
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll provide the terms of reference and the instruction to bidders as soon as possible, and probably if we have one, we'll give it to you before this session ends. As regards to time and motion, that is covered by the key performance indices. So they will be continually monitored that they maintain a certain level of service for passengers, for people who use the bathroom. So they'll be regulated and monitored throughout the concession period, ma'am. And we will make sure whoever is awarded that they go the extra mile and put in that other initiative to make sure Filipinos, Cebuanos are incorporated in this and go through the difference between a stone and a tile. And honestly, ma'am, this is not headache to me. This builds character for me, so I welcome all the ideas and inputs that people would have.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you, sir. It's a relief that it's not really stressful for you, but not to trivialize the matter, but I think in the end, those details will really spell the difference also. And your handicap access. I have well, my mom is in her 70s, and it's difficult for her to be traveling too often now, especially with the design of our airports where you have to take a bus and then use. I mean, I understand that because of the volume of passengers, but it has to have clearly defined handicap access. I'm really going to check on that. I'm going to check on how comfortable it is. Will it be for our passengers, and also the charges or the fees. I think, Mr. Chair, you mentioned about fees that they are supposed to be allowed to charge. So I just want to make sure that there won't be a drastic increase in the fees imposed by the winning bidder, whoever that group might be. Thank you.
Honourable Senator, if I may, you touched on a few points about washrooms, and you said that they sound pedestrian, but I would like to state that they're not pedestrian matters. In one of our last forums of engagement in Cebu just a few days ago, I mentioned to the audience that having had the benefit of being involved in the development of new terminals for several years, one of the advantages I have is I have the benefit of having been in a ladies' washroom several times. I will add, this is during construction. And issues that are as important as the fact that ladies all carry handbags. Handbags take great pride in a lady's heart. No lady wants to put a handbag on a wet washroom surface. So it's important in the design to even incorporate a shelf for the handbag, individual stations so that ladies can use those facilities. Airports are not all about aeroplanes and runways and technical. Airports are about creating spaces that people enjoy using. They're about creating seating in the terminal will be changed. All of the lighting and ceiling panels in the terminals will be changed. There are new arrival facilities for all the hotels and tour operators so that they can be represented with individual counters with their branding to give people who visit Cebu the sense of being welcomed in the cultural and heritage style solution. In terms of charges, we're not interested in generating to speak to stakeholders and find out what do they want. What are the markets that they are interested in? The growth region and the entire Visayas, because airports are economic engines of growth, ma'am.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Mr. Harrison. However, I mean, it sounds very promising, but sometimes if it's too altruistic also, I mean, the pronouncements are too altruistic. I'd like to know how exactly will you benefit from our growth? I mean, you said that you don't really care about the money that you get to reinvest into the airport. So what is it in it for you? There has to be something, some financial reward. You are a company after all.
No, sorry, if I may just correct, Honourable Senator. It's not that we don't care. I'm saying that is not our primary focus. Our primary focus is delivering an airport that meets the needs of the region and the stakeholders, because that in itself will generate business. And when business is generated, obviously people will use the airport facilities, retail, food and beverage, etc. And that in itself will help to generate revenues. But we require volume, because that's really the greatest benefit. So we are aligned with the stakeholders in trying to grow the traffic into the region.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Harrison. Do you want to add something, Mr. Kapoor, briefly?
Yes, very briefly. I will just like to add, especially on the charges point of view which you raised. I think, of course, DOTC will respond. But as bidders, one thing which was very heartening when we actually came and looked at the draft concession agreement and the instructions, and also the way the charges have been clearly specified in the entire bid process. Any bidder wants certainty of how the charges are. In India, actually, I would just like to take a minute and explain, especially since Senator Sergio had raised the point about ADF. In India, the charges were not decided in the concession. There was an independent regulator who decides the charges every 5 years. So it is a regular, and as part of that process, there is also a process where you can appeal against those charges to an appellate body. So it's a regular process which is laid down in the Act itself, in the law itself. Here, that there is no independent economic regulator. The concession agreement is itself your regulator or regulating document, because it clearly says these are the charges over the entire concession period. You can't change it. So we have to live with those charges. What we can do is, as Andrew said, we can develop the traffic. We can develop the traffic maybe more than someone else or other bidders. Our ability to develop the traffic is what really will bring about growth in the business in that airport, as well as in the profitability of that airport. But the charges are fixed; it cannot be changed.
So you have the power to actually grant concessions, right? I mean, your group or whoever will win it.
The commercial concessions.
So
yes.
if, let's say, you have a maximum number of concessionaires, right? You won't go over that. Otherwise, it will just be too congested in the airport. I mean, I know you want to generate more income that way, but there should be a cap.
I will absolutely agree with your point. Typically, if you see Delhi Airport, Hyderabad Airport, as well as Istanbul Airport, firstly, all these airports have that local feel. Delhi and Hyderabad have the local feel, not only about India, but also the local state in which they are operating. Similarly, our Istanbul Airport had a very local feel as far as Turkey is concerned. The other thing is that all these airports, there is a very clear performance standards which are laid out in the concession agreement itself. And to ensure we can meet those performance standards, we have to do the design in a manner which would ensure that the passengers have comfort in moving, and you don't overdo anything on the commercial side. But it has to be the right balance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Perhaps if they are willing to support their sincere intention, whoever will win this, whoever will finally be awarded the bid, if there can really be a written commitment or something that they are going to include certain respected individuals in society to look into, as a guest, to look into the design. Because we can't really claim to be experts in these. We need to have... would you be amenable to that, sir? If in case you are finally awarded this bid?
We'll do that, Your Honor.
But let's not also forget that Philinvest, the area, they have proven the other for all the wrong reasons. So, okay, that's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Just as a point of information, the Gotianums come from Cebu. They are Cebuanos. They went to school in Cebu. Anyway, the governor is here. Maybe he can suggest the forming of an informal committee under the MCIAA that will judge proposal for the rendering of the Mactan Cebu terminal. Let the governor select representatives. After all, this will be their airport.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, right now,
No, you can think about it, and
Oh, yes,
maybe the
yes.
board can discuss
Yes,
it at
yes.
the next
yes.
meeting. But it would be good if you would be able to have a special committee, a select committee, pass on the renderings that will be submitted by whoever is awarded the bid.
We'll do that, Mr. Chairman, yes.
Thank you, Governor. By the
Thank
way,
you.
curiously, very curiously, it seems that you have two vacancies on the board because Mr. Rogelio Lim and Francis Modera had resigned. I think they belong to groups that were also bidding. How come they have not been replaced? Do you intend to replace them?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I submitted a name to Secretary Abaya already.
Okay.
I only sit there as a director. I don't really. I can recommend, but I cannot or nominate, but I cannot appoint. Of course, it's the president that appoints.
The president is the appointing
Yes.
power, but I mean,
Yes,
you know,
Mr. Chairman.
to you so that I don't have to call another hearing on this. Where's Attorney Carlo Campo? I'll let him explain the conflict of interest that obtains in the Puerto situation. Mr. Ocampo? Wait, you haven't taken your oath. Everybody else here is under oath. Would the committee secretary like to administer the oath to Attorney Ocampo, please?
Sir, please stand up, raise up your right hand, and repeat after me. I, please state your name.
I, Carlos Ocampo,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will tell the truth,
that I will tell the truth,
the whole truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth
and nothing but the truth
to this committee.
to this committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated, Mr. Ocampo. Thank you for coming. Would you like to identify yourself so that
Yes.
the
Thank you very much,
record
Mr.
will
Chairman.
reflect?
My name is Carlos Ocampo, and I'm a partner of Ocampo and Manalo Law Firm, which represents Hanjin Heavy Industries.
Now, Hanjin is a bidder along with Kumho for the O&M contract of the Puerto Princesa Airport. Am I correct?
Yes, it is one of the two bidders.
One of the two bidders.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And this is a project that is being undertaken under an ODA loan from the Export-Import Bank of Korea.
That is correct, Your Honor.
And the conditions of the Korean loan is that only Korean companies would be allowed to participate.
Yes, that is accurate.
So two companies submitted different bids. Now I understand that Kumho is a partner of Incheon.
Yes, Incheon belong to the same consortium under the Mactan Airport project. Kumo is the appointed contractor of the consortium.
And Kumho and Incheon was also the consultant of the DOTC in the Puerto project.
That is correct, Your Honor.
Mr. Secretary, are you aware of this?
Yes, Your Honor. This bidding is currently in the back. It's an issue raised by Hanjin, and the back is currently addressing the issue. But I'm fully aware of since letters has been sent to the office, which I've referred to the back, Your Honor.
You're also aware that Kumho is under, which I mentioned earlier, under financial rehabilitation.
I've been informed by the back secretariat that we have received such letter recently, Your Honor.
And therefore, and also that Kumho did not disclose this when it submitted its bid. Ms. Canilao, are matters like this supposed to be disclosed by the bidders?
Sir, this is not the BOT line. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the procurement process for ODA and what's the government-to-government agreement with respect to overseas
Oh,
development.
so if this were a PPEP, they would have had to disclose.
That
but because there are different rules for ODAs, some is that negative. Maybe they can borrow money from Megawide, but a project, ang swerte naman nila. You, Secretary?
We will, of course, look into that, Your Honor.
When will you be able to come back to the committee with a report or an update on the Puerto?
Early next week, Your Honor.
I can't hear.
Early next week, Your Honor.
All right. Also, when are you going to come up with a decision on the Mactan Cebu International Airport?
Actually, Your Honor, we were hoping to come up with that decision by the end of this month, Your Honor.
All right. Now, lastly, I would like to the fees that they would be charging the travelers at the Piatco, wherein there were I think 14 or 16 fees, and they did an amendment after the original concession agreement was signed, and they removed 4 or 5 fees from what was termed a regulated, because it is a monopoly. An airport is a monopoly in the area in which they serve, and Mactan is a monopoly in the region. So, tinanggal po nila so they could increase these fees at will and increase their return. We want to make sure that, secondly, under the proposal of GMR, and I think Changi, Gotianu, Philinvest would also enjoy it, is the real estate portion will develop shopping center official instead of having to conduct a whole hearing, so that we can study the financial end of this particular project.
Okay.
Yusek Lincao.
Yes. Your Honor, I'll offhand, this is what we have, but then we will submit.
Read it into the record.
We will
if you
submit in addition to when we find some more. But this is what is in the concession agreement. The fees are the passenger service fee, and that it's subject to a parametric formula to be increased 10% every 5 years. Number 2 is the aircraft parking fees.
What's the beginning fee?
Right now, Your Honor, it's 200 for domestic and 550. Then upon assumption of operations, there will be an increase of 50 pesos, Your Honor. And then that amount will be subject to 10% every 5 years. Number 2 and 3 are aircraft parking fees and what they call tacking fees. This is also subject to a specific parametric formula that regulates the increase that is based on inflation every 5 years. Number 4 are the other apron charges, the airlines. These are ground handling fees, catering fees, fueling fees. This will be subject to the negotiation between the concessionaire and the airlines themselves. Sorry, the concessionaire and the service providers, the ones who provide catering and ground handling. Number 5 is the revenues from other commercial areas, Your Honor.
All right, we'd like to have more specific numbers, so I'm sure you have that. So put it in there. It can't be open-ended, certainly. We'd also are curious as to what type of projections you have for the development of other types of real estate within the property that is being assigned to them. What type of financial projections would they have for the shopping area and for the hotel and anything else? Who collects the parking fees? They do also. Okay. What about baggage handling concessionaires concession? That would be independent. They would have to bid for it. They would bid with the MCIAA?
No, Your Honor. I think the baggage handling, they would...
Would that be a monopoly?
Either the concessionaire does it themselves or they contract it out, like a security guard or any other outsourced service of the...
Now, we had problems here in Manila, you will remember, with the Piatco thing, because there are concessionaires here for... There's Macro Asia, there's... what's the one of Delgado? Miascor, etc. And, Piatco was going to elbow them out of Terminal 3, and they were the ones who took it to court. Kasi nandun na ho sila sa Terminal 1 and 2. Now, we want to see some participation, and we don't want the current handlers there elbowed out because there's a new airport concession. It's got nothing to do with them. In the contract, in the concession agreement, is it automatic that the baggage handling falls under one of the fees that they can collect? Dependent. Yeah. Have your staff give us a matrix of fees that you're charging here in Terminal 1, Terminal 2, Terminal 3 for all types of services, whether they're contracted out or whether they're being collected by wala naman tayong concessionaire dito, no? Wala na yung Piatco. PAL is government. Terminal 2, Terminal 1 is government. Well, whatever, so that we will know, we'll be able to compare apples and apples with the arrangements that are being made for Mactan. We also don't like them awarding concessions to companies in which they have an interest. That's what they did in India. If it's awarded to GMR, we don't like that sort of arrangement because you've got a conflict of interest there.
Okay. Sir, I just wanted to respond to your statement that we gave related parties. We have not given it to related parties.
It's in the report of the CAG and it's never been refuted.
Correct, sir. I think this report of the CAG, that's why I wanted to explain the report of the CAG. I mean, what you are looking at is from a Google, you are picking up only one portion of it. But the whole story, there is a much bigger picture to it, and I think one has to get to the depth of it, then understand it, and then get the right perspective. The CAG process is basically a process where they comment on the process adopted by the government. There is no audit of Delhi Airport. The CAG does not audit Delhi Airport. Delhi Airport is a private entity. They audit the government process. And as part of that process, they submitted a draft report. It went to a parliamentary committee. There is a parliamentary committee which looks at that report and then accepts it or rejects it. The parliamentary committee has already met. They have rejected all these issues. They have only raised certain points on the government as far as certain processes which were followed initially at the time of bidding. But as far as DIAL is concerned, there are no charges which are there in the final report of the parliamentary committee. So I just wanted to bring that point to the attention of the committee.
So you're saying that the parliamentary, is that parliament, the Indian parliament?
It's the Indian parliamentary committee.
Rejected it?
Yes.
All right, maybe you can give us a copy of that
Sure.
report. It doesn't mean much to me because, I mean, that's a political decision also when it goes to parliament. Auditor's report is an auditor's report. I mean, we in the Senate cannot reject a report of the Commission on Audit. That's a constitutional body, and that's independent of Congress. So I don't know how it works in India, but how a congressional committee can reject the report of an independent commission.
There is a process.
Beyond me.
So there is a process laid out. Maybe it's different in Philippines, but in India, the CAG report is treated as a draft report. It goes to because CAG reports to the parliament, and CAG gives its report to the parliament, and there's a committee which looks at it and says, yes, this is what we accept, this is what we don't accept.
Yes, but how they are permitted to accept or not accept is beyond my understanding. because an auditor is an auditor. And even if Congress were to reject the report of the Commission on Audit, it would still stand
So
as their
what-
report.
So what the committee does
As
is,
a matter of fact, the Commission on Audit here in the Philippines has just implicated several, practically half the members of Congress as being involved in what they call the PDAF scam. And we don't have the power to reject it, because if we did have that power, those reports would have been rejected immediately. So we don't understand that. Perhaps you can give it
Yeah,
to
I-
us,
I can-
but it doesn't hold water with us, because that's not our practice here. We don't have power of Congress. We do not have the power to reject.
No, I only wanted to
the
respond to the
Commission on
point that about this, related parties, because what they have mentioned is joint ventures. See, we have created joint ventures with the concessionaires. So I think it's a different concept. It will require a little bit of detailed understanding, because it is a different concept which is most airport operators are actually following internationally now. And as far as the report is concerned, what the Parliament Committee does is that it takes into account the draft report of the auditor, it takes into account the submissions by the government, because ultimately the report is on the government, and then it says that this is what is accepted, this is what is not accepted, and it gives
That's
a
why,
finality.
I mean, just submit that and explain the rules to this committee, because we don't. I'm just telling you right off the bat, we don't have that power here, and we're surprised that you have that power in India. That means everything there is highly politicized.
No, we'll be very happy to submit that PSC report. I'll be
I
also very
already
happy to
thought
submit
we're
a summary
overly
of that report.
politicized in this country.
It's a very
but,
detailed report, and I'll also give a summary of that.
Yes, please do. Now, go ahead. It's your turn.
Just some points to recap also my points and to ask a few more, just two more. Number one, Mr. Chair, may I request for all the issues raised by PhilInvest, if the DOTC can come up with an answer to those points that they raised, just for the record, so that we have it. For example, they said whatever their claims are for the bidding and what your response is. Would you be able to provide that? Is that something that you would normally do, or?
Your Honor, with respect to the issues that are already being raised by PhilInvest relating to the financial evaluation aspect already, we have to raise the matter, Your Honor, of the executive deliberative privilege, Your Honor. That at this point we would be unable to provide the committee
Why are
in
you
open
raising?
session.
Why are you raising executive deliberate privilege? Is it for the interest of the public that you do not divulge this, or is it because you don't have the time to put together a response?
With respect, Your Honor, the reason why we're raising it is because this common law principle regarding executive deliberative principle was designed to prevent a situation, Your Honor, where the deliberations of government, Your Honor, are prematurely disclosed, Your Honor, when a final decision has not yet been made. So, Your Honor, this relates really to a public disclosure of deliberations of government, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fine. So use that as your response to why you're not responding to it. So all of the points that they raised, just put that if that's what you claim it to be. Because in the end, if there's a period of declassification and you raise that, then we're going to see if it was A, for the interest of the public and because of your right, or is it because I'm not alleging this at any extent, but what I'm saying is because it cannot be used to cover a wrongful act. So I just want to make sure that for the record, that is your response to their response. Put it all, even in a concise form, just so it's easy reference, because these hearings are taking long, hours. So for us to be able to go through the transcript, it's better for us to be able to compare it also with your formal answer. That's number one. Number two, whoever will be awarded, sir, this may not have been in your abstracts or in your requirements, but this is our chance to move forward. Perhaps you can ask for the renewable sources of energy. I am impressed with the new design. I mean, I think it looks a lot better than what they submitted. But this is our chance. If it's not going to cost too much more, perhaps the government can chip in. I don't know, and have some solar panels in there or gray water entrapment facilities that can water your lawn. As you know, maintenance has always been our weakness. So why not? We're already moving forward. Number two, I already raised the point for handicaps and elderlies. I just want to make sure that their access is really incorporated. So if you're going to have a design team that you're inviting, I would like to have a list of the ones that you will invite, if I can request for that. So I guess those are the points that I raised earlier, and aside from the new ones that I made, renewable sources of energy for the airport, and number two, your actual response to their queries. That's all. Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Okay, last couple of points I'd like to make. We've had two new airports in the Visayas, which is the Iloilo Airport and the Negros Airport. They're fairly 5-8 years old. I was involved in the start also of the Iloilo Airport. These were done by professional design groups, just like the Terminal 2 and Terminal 1 in Manila. But when they were built, there was a total lack of space for arrivals, for departing passengers, and for shops. That as you go through Iloilo and Bacolod, you will see how constricted it is. In other words, we do have our own cultural habits. Alam mo na, sino magsasalubong dyan, sino nagsesend off, etc. And this was obviously not taken into much consideration, which is like we would like to take a look at the floor plan. Design is one thing. I want to look at the floor plan. I want to make sure that maybe we should have much bigger space than is being designed right now, because I'm really very disappointed with the design of the floor plans of Iloilo and Bacolod. And the people in Iloilo and Bacolod were telling me they'll have now to make way for additional shops, so they're moving the offices out of where they are now, and I don't know where they're going to locate them. But these are brand new terminals, and not much thought went into the design. They probably thought they were designing something for Europe. Now, Terminal 2 was designed by Jackson Airport de Paris. I don't remember who designed Iloilo and Bacolod, but I'm sorely disappointed because that cost us a lot of money and it just didn't match what we normally require. With Terminal 3, we won't have this problem in Cebu because it's still going to be a very small airport. With Terminal 3, you've got the long walking distance without any people mover. So I can see elderly people and people on crutches having a hell of a time going from, say, Gate 119 to the luggage area. So you guys and others who are friendly should walk through and imagine what shortage or shortcomings in the design there is before we build it. Not after, because there's no more room to make the correction after it's already done. In Cebu, for example, in the current terminal, I already complained in 1992 when I saw the plans. That's the only airport that I know of, there must be some, where the departing passenger has to climb 3 or 4 steps. How many steps, Paul? 5 steps. It's the most idiotic thing I've seen, because that's where you carry your own luggage, and you now have to go up 5 steps before you can get to the level of the ticket counter. But all they had to do is raise the road by a meter, and then it would have been level. So it's matters like this that we have to suffer for 25 years, because how do you correct that? Cebu, Mactan, the current one. Yes, I don't know if you've. Of course, you know that, no? But it's just.
It will be your inspiration in looking at the final awarding of this bid.
Well, Your Honor, that is foremost in my mind, and I'm sure the whole BAC, the whole DOTC will take pride on the projects that we do.
Well, I don't know, because sometimes they run and hide, but yeah. But yes, Mr. Secretary, I was going to suggest that this be called the Corazon Aquino Airport, so that take a hand in you to submit to the committee, and if there's anything additional that you wish us to know, feel free to call